Hi, I'm Dr. Alex Engar, and I wanted to walk you through how the CEO Finance Academy program works when we're working with dental practices specifically. One of the things that we've found with dental practices is that they have a lot of data often. They don't know exactly what to look at and really what to optimize for. And so we like to get really focused and look at a few key things. So I just want to walk you through some of the actual tools and kind of processes that we're looking at when it comes to a dental practice, what really matters. So first one is we need to be able to know what is it that we're actually selling and what is actually profitable and what is most profitable and what is least profitable. And so we go through something that we call gross margins in detail with our practices, where we sit down and say, great, let's break out all the different services that you've got and how much it really costs you to deliver on those, both in terms of man hours and so sort of the labor side and any other direct costs, materials types of costs. If it's like, hey, we're using all of this equipment and it costs us this much money to factor all that stuff in. So come up with where our money's actually coming from, what our margins are amidst each of the different services that you offer, to see, do we need to adjust potentially pricing somewhere if we have control over pricing, if we're doing more cash-based stuff. If we're working more with insurance companies, then we need to factor in things like, well, how long is it taking me to get paid on these services versus not? So we're looking at sort of a per service level, per offering level first. Then we move to what we call baseline expenses, where we have to understand what is your just burn rate overall. And so we go through a bunch of different specific things, looking at both the people costs. And when we really get into it, we can add on maybe a doctor's making, X salary plus 401k plus healthcare benefits. How much are they really costing us versus what are they bringing to us? And so that gets into what we start to call the break-even analyses and targets, setting targets. And you might say, well, I have a certain amount of overhead, per chair or per doctor. And so how does that factor in? So then we get into really nerdy things like figuring out how productive they really are, how much profit they're really making the business per visit or not, and how many they need to hit. How many patients do we actually need to see in a month for this doctor to be able to sort of cover their salary and the overhead that they consume. But then what if we have a certain profit target? How much do they need to see individually? And so we break all this down. There's actually a brand new one that we're rolling out, which I'm really excited about, because it just takes all these concepts and puts it into one clear place. And all of this builds on itself. So we do the hard work in one part, and it filters over into the other sides of things for us. The other thing that I find really, really important when we're working with our dental practices is balancing out. Ultimately, it's the industry term is utilization. It's how much are we using our doctors, and how full are they really versus what capacity do they have. And so as you're looking to grow and you're deciding, do I need to hire another doctor? Do we just have more capacity to fill up? Do we need to do more marketing, right? We actually sit down and sort of per department, if you have multiple departments, or per location, if you have multiple locations, we'll look at this capacity versus the demand. In other words, how well are your doctors being utilized? And so we do it per role. We figure out on, maybe a weekly level. Let's say that we've got, 30 visits a week that one doctor could see. What's their current load? We'll go back together through your system and figure out per doctor where are they at and how full are they really. And then we can look at things like, hey, we've got to figure out average reimbursement rates per visit and per service type. But then we can factor in things like, what's your cancel and no-show rate? So we'll go pull historical numbers together to figure out, well, where could we be if we were actually at capacity? How much are we losing, et cetera? So monitoring sort of utilization ends up being a key part of things for dental practices. The last part that I wanted to show you is one that, as you're looking at making the next hire, whether it's a dentist or whether it's someone else that's sort of front desk or someone who's helping you with cleanings, it's like, hey, how much is this employee really going to make me? And so we use our hiring ROI calculator, where we can figure out how many visits per week is this person going to support? Are they W-2 or 1099? What's their salary, or if they're paid per visit or per hour, how does that all break down? We factor in all the costs around things like benefits. And then we can sort of figure out like, hey, how much expected revenue will this seat generate for us? Versus what are all those really simple costs that are going to go out the door to actually pay for that person, not factoring in overhead. So this is a really simple way for us to visually be able to make a decision around can I afford to hire this person or not? Is the compensation that they're asking for worth it? Does it work for my financials? And then on top of this, we get into, cash flow oriented things where we're sitting down and saying, all right, as the owner, how are you going to move cash around? How are you going to allocate for, purchasing the next piece of equipment, or paying down a loan, or maybe opening up another location, or paying yourself? Right? Go figure. And so we sit down, we're making these decisions together through tools where we're helping you not only understand your financials and saying, all right, this is what they're telling me, but then ultimately, how do you make decisions from that? And we have one great owner that we worked with who had 5 locations in his practice and felt like he didn't understand all the different things that were happening from all the locations. It's like, hey, let's get simple here and say, well, as a business, how much do you need this business to generate for you? So we've got to set targets, and then we can reverse engineer those targets to say, all right, how is each location going to contribute towards that? And ultimately, we were able to identify when we went through this process where it was like, all right, here are the different things that you're selling, or we can even do it on a per location basis. We're able to identify, all right, these locations are lagging. Why are they lagging? Oh, they're lagging specifically because he had more doctor time available than patients. And we needed to route a lot more of his marketing to that location specifically so that it could, quote unquote, catch up to the others, right? And it was so great to be able to see that and identify it with numbers instead of just gut feel. And then we can balance out the business and say, all right, well, this location might be dragging everyone else down. Let's go put our time and attention and resources there, and be able to actually measure the things that matter for building up the entire business. So these are just a snippet of the tools and the things that I find really important as we're working with our dental practices. If you have any questions, obviously you can feel free to reach out to our team. Hopefully this gives you a little bit of insight into what do things look like. And then we ultimately build towards one of my favorite things, which is how do we start to tell the future? And like in this case, it's like, all right, we can build this projection out for what's going to happen over the next year, etc. But my favorite part, and you might have seen this in one of our other videos, but is to say, what's in the bank account right now versus where's my oh crap line, and what's likely to happen in my business given the history of sort of our seasonal trends and growth rates. What's likely to happen to my bank account balance? It's like, wow, that looks bad. But then we can come in and say, all right, maybe I don't need to have this expense anymore, and I'll delete my $10,000 expense. And how does it look for me? Wow, it buys me a couple extra months. Oh, cool. I don't get down to my oh crap line until April, right? So we have this immense control over the business to be able to say, what if I do this? And have an actual, again, mathematical answer versus just relying on our gut and feeling like we're kind of making things up as we go. Cool. That's what we do inside of CEO Finance Academy with our dental practices. Hopefully this is useful, and we would love to see you inside if you feel like this is what you need next in your business. See you on the other side.